What's up, everyone, and welcome to a very, very exciting conversation. My name is Frankie Smith. I am one of the hosts of the DC Studio Showcase, and I'm here with my co-host, Tyler Coates. Pointed up, but he's somewhere in this side, guys. I love it. And today we have a very special conversation. I know everyone's excited about it. It's with, I would say, one of the most influential people in pop culture right now. Tyler, am I capping? Am I just
No,
excited?
I think that's accurate. I think that's very accurate. Today, it's kind of a historical day because this is the official launch of James Gunn's DCU. Today, we get to talk about the first two episodes of Creature Commandos, which is streaming exclusively on Max. And together, we get to celebrate the launch with James Gunn himself. Thank you so much for coming today, James, and chatting with us.
I am happy to be here. I saw your first episode of Showcase. I thought it was great. Love listening to you
Yeah.
guys, and can't wait to keep tuning in every couple weeks.
Oh,
I
thank you.
was
And you'll have to come on eventually, I
I
hope.
would love it. I would love it.
we love you. We met actually, James, at
I
the
remember
Penguin
we met
premiere.
at the Penguin premiere.
I,
Yeah,
I didn't know what to say to you, but I was like, I gotta say something. And I didn't tell you that I was on the podcast, and I didn't think about it until after I left.
yeah. But
Um,
well, it was cool. It was
Eventually.
cool. I'm
He
like,
had an
hey, wait, I
idea.
know
He
that
had an
person.
idea. Well, James, to kind of kick off the conversation today, something kind of outside of what we're eventually going to chat about. But you're known very well for your musical tastes. And
Mhm.
this week, a lot of us who are on Spotify or Apple Music have gotten our like kind of unwrapped our recaps of the year of what we've been listening to. I'm very curious, what do you know what your kind of top artist was this year, or the number one song you listened to the most this year?
No, I haven't looked at my Spotify Wrapped yet. I will look at it as soon as I get. Everybody was. I've been busy today, but
Yeah.
everybody keeps asking me what it is, and I haven't looked yet. So,
Have you,
but
have you,
I can imagine that it's probably my Spotify Wrapped is always strange because I have a lot of music that I put into movies. So I end up
Mm.
listening to like a lot of my top songs. The ones that are going to be the biggest are probably songs from Peacemaker season two. But of the ones I listen to personally for myself, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a lot of 4 Years Strong, which that whole album is really great. So, yeah, that's probably what it is. But there is a bunch of great music this year. Like just, I think it's probably honestly the best year ever for music since 71 or 72.
Wow, that's a bold take. I like
that,
it though. And I
I,
imagine, yeah, if you tell us too much of what you've listened to, I think you're going to spoil a little bit of Peacemaker. So I guess we
Yes.
keep
Yeah.
that tight.
unless Kendrick Lamar is on there, I heard you're a huge fan. There's
I'm a
rumors.
fan of Kendrick Lamar, but this wonderful rumor went around this week that this guy he posted it as a joke. I thought it was hilarious that the Superman trailer has been delayed due to the fact that I've been distracted by Kendrick's new album, which that part isn't true. Yeah, the new album's great.
What a great way to put pressure on you. I love it to be like, oh, this is the reason.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but let's get into the nerdy details of Creature Commandos. There are so many things that you could pull from the DC catalog. What drew you to the Creature Commandos specifically? Because it feels very niche. Like, what's that process of finding, which moments you want to
I
capture?
think it was really, I always thought the Creature Commandos were a cool group within the, DC Comics. I thought they were interesting. I thought they were fairly underdeveloped because there haven't been that many issues of Creature Commandos, and the different, iterations of the group have been very different from each other. So there was sort of the fun of like kind of helping to take what like JM first did and then adding to that or co-creating that in the television space. Um, I like the fact that it was a really cool big group that I could do an animation that would be extraordinarily expensive to do in live action, but I could do it in animation because it costs the same to draw a weasel as it does to draw a human being. Um, so yeah, I think it just seemed that when Peter Girardi from over at Warner Brothers Animation first came to me long before I took on DC and said, we want to do something in animation. I said, I'd like to take a shot at that. And he's like, "What do you want to do?" And I just thought about it for a little while, and I don't know. I just came upon Creature Commandos. It didn't come upon me like a burst of lightning. I don't remember thinking of it. I had always had Creature Commandos in my mind as a property that I liked.
Yeah, animation, I think, was an excellent choice, and I'm glad that you gave it the full respect because, to your point, some things just look incredible in
Yeah.
animation, and I feel like Creature Commandos is one of them. The tableaus you're able to set, the coloring, I just feel like it sets the tone of the entire show. So I'm thankful that you did it in animation.
Me too. I mean, it was, and I got the chance to work with a lot of people who I really respect. Um, Dean Lorey, Rick Morales, directors like Sam Lewin, all these people who have come together to create this show. The people at Bobby Pills in France, who are our animation company, who did an incredible job. And it was, I think, the best collaboration I've ever had in my life in terms of working with, other directors, other filmmakers. I always, as a screenwriter, it can be very frustrating to write a screenplay and maybe the movie comes out the way you envisioned it, maybe it doesn't, but it never comes out the way you envision it. And in this case, not only did it come out the way I envisioned it, it came out better. They added to it. They created a lot of moments that I didn't know were going to be as cool as they ended up being.
I'm curious too, like how the voice cast played a role in really who these characters were. I mean, did they change at all from when you were writing them and then when you first started hearing the actors kind of embodying them?
Well, none of the dialogue changed. The dialogue's all what it was when I wrote it. But I think no, I think we cast pretty well for the actors that that the one that I would say probably shifted. He didn't shift that much. He's very much like what I wrote him like, but he added even more was David Harbour.
Hmm.
Everybody else was either somebody I knew, like Frank Grillo or Maria, Bakalova, who I wrote those roles for those people. Or they were people who auditioned along with a lot of other people, like Indira and Chloe, and Um, so I think David was the most interesting because he's a person we offered it to. I didn't hear him do the role before, and he came in. He's just got this sly way of talking that I knew a little bit from admiring his other work, but I think he brought something really special to my dog's back here to Creature Commandos.
So, Weasel is a character that we knew from the Suicide Squad, and now we're
Mhm.
getting to see him again in Creature Commandos. I know he was definitely a fan favorite in the Suicide Squad. How do you think people are going to react to seeing him and getting to know him a little bit more on the show?
Well, I love taking the goofiest character that I've ever put on screen ever and giving him a soulful existence. I think I don't know about always, but for a long time, I've known the backstory of Weasel, and I even know a lot more I've spent too much time thinking about Weasel. But like, I know even more, a lot of things about where Weasel came from, how he came to be. And this is a piece of that story. And I love being able to show his background and that even some of the most ludicrous characters, are still have a part of them that's quite serious.
The background that you show in the show, did you have that in mind when you wrote his character for Suicide Squad?
I don't know if I had it in mind originally, but by the end of shooting Suicide Squad, I kind of knew what was going on with him. Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Obviously, Sean, your brother plays Weasel. Are there any other people in your life that, either that you think about when you're writing characters or, like there's a joke that you remember someone in your life telling that kind of makes its way into a script, or even just like kind of a personality trait of someone that you know well kind of makes their way into one of these characters?
I mean, yeah, I think I often write, sometimes I write based on real people that I know. Other times I, write for people I know. I have a lot of actors, a troupe of actors that I work with regularly. Michael Rooker, Greg Henry, both of whom are in this, Linda Cardellini, Stevie Blackheart, who is in almost everything I've done. And so anytime I have an opportunity to work with those people who I trust, I know their ins and outs completely, what they're capable of, what their limitations are, what they haven't been pushed far enough to do. That I like to be able to utilize those people as much as possible. And within this show, I think we have Michael Rooker, we have Linda Cardellini, we have Greg Henry, and then Peter Serafinowicz, who I haven't worked with for a long time, but I worked with on Guardians and loved working with him. Ben Davis is another one who I've worked with, who plays Rupert Thorne in the series. And so yeah, that was a lot of fun to bring these guys into the booth and allow them to do anything they want by creating these characters was fun.
I love that. It feels like, I mean, the kind of found family theme follows you wherever you go, and it's sort of like your own creature commandos.
Life is short, making movies can be tiresome and difficult, and it really helps for me to have people that I can trust around me while I'm doing it, and I'm always bringing in new people, whether it's, Rachel and David from like the new Superman. Nick Holt is a guy who I really have a special bond with. And I always love, meeting new people and bringing new people to light that maybe haven't been seen much before. But I also like having the long time relationships that I have and working with those people again and again.
How different was it to work with these people in the voice acting capacity versus like having them in person? Because it's different acting, it's different skills, I feel like. And sometimes that doesn't translate, but I felt like
Yeah.
on the show, for everyone, I really felt their feelings. They had chemistry. Was that
Yeah.
difficult?
I think that it wasn't. No, I think that it's easier because you're taking out a component of acting, which is the visual, and you're just relying on the audio. And I think that when you're shooting a movie, you need to have both. And I think that we cast the characters well, so we already knew what they sounded like. I hear you. I often hear people doing voice acting who are nowhere near as good as voice actors. But one of the things about the show too was trying to keep that naturalism of the characters, that even though these are outlandish, enormous characters, that their conversations are very practical and very real and very laid back. And, getting that sort of, I always want it, I want acting to be as much like if somebody brought me a tape of this and said, these are two people talking in an elevator, this is real stuff. That's kind of what my ultimate objective is with acting, is making, these outlandish, ridiculous conversations about otherworldly themes as practical and as grounded and as naturalistic as possible.
It's interesting. I just talked to a director who made his first animated project, and he was talking about how it changed his perspective as an actor or as a director talking with actors, and that he found himself getting a lot more performative when he was like having conversations, giving direction. Did you find that happening at all, working in animation, that you kind of find yourself kind of, I don't know, less grounded a little bit as a director?
I didn't, because like I said, I think I was trying to
Yeah, the opposite.
I know
yeah.
all the I know the guys from Rick and Morty, right? It's a totally different type of expressive acting that's big and it isn't that. It isn't. It's as if these are real people that just happen to be animated. So I didn't find it any different, other than I didn't have to worry about the way they looked, But I'm watching them on Zoom, and I actually had to kind of turn away a lot, because I am just focusing on what I'm hearing and not on what I'm seeing. And so it's hard to, that is the biggest adjustment for me, which I've done before because I've made video games. So that's been a part of that has been, really, that was really fun. And in fact, when I'm, the main video game I made was this, game Lollipop Chainsaw, which is a lot of the same actors. It was Michael Rooker, my brother Sean, Linda Cardellini, is Greg Henry. So it was really, I saw that all those people were able to do voice acting very well.
You're animated in the intro as well.
Yeah.
It's in your likeness. Did you give any notes on it? How was it to see yourself like as a cartoon?
Well, I like it because I'm very good looking in that animation. I was very pleased with that. I didn't have any little pop belly like I actually have. So that was good. That the animated me works out a little bit more than real life me. I didn't know that was coming, and they presented it to me, and I was like, flattered, of course, and then also like, oh my God, I hope people don't think that I insisting that I am animated at the beginning of the show. So I was a little embarrassed by it, but also flattered. I
I
think
think
it's
it works.
And now they know.
Yeah.
So.
yeah.
Well, yeah, as Frankie said, we have some fan questions we wanted to go through. Frankie, you
Okay,
want to take
great.
it up? Yeah.
Yeah, so the first one is from Derek, at Derek Langston on Instagram. And he said, I don't know if it's a he. So they said, I know you've said in other interviews that Maria was the first person cast in the DCU, but who was your first character you wrote for when you started it all?
When I started writing Creature Commandos, who did I first? I mean, I guess it was Rick and, you
I
know,
think I think he's saying the DCU period.
it's hard to say because I knew I was doing Superman and I knew I was doing Creature Commandos
Yeah.
before I came in. I'd have to say Superman preceded Creature Commandos in terms of playing with it and thinking about it and committing to that. So it would have to be Superman.
Another one from DC Community on Discord, Hub City Question asks, most of the Creature Commandos have a history with some incarnation of the team, but Dr. Phosphorus came as a big surprise addition. How did he make it into part of this group?
I think I just initially went through all the different characters that could be in Creature Commandos. I liked the idea of a skeleton guy. I liked, Dr. Phosphorus as a character, and I needed a certain type to fit the role. I wanted a more typical supervillain in the group, which Dr. Phosphorus is, and I think he just kind of fit in. There was probably a bunch of other characters that I thought of that I considered that I didn't include. But maybe we'll see some of them in the future.
Well, it's funny you say that from Hicks on Blue Sky. Wanted to know who was considered but didn't make the cut.
Mostly the other Creature Commandos, Nosferatu, who's in, one of the episodes was a consideration. I like giant apes and monkeys, and so gorilla people. So I considered anybody that was a gorilla was probably in some consideration at some point. Yeah.
Right. This one is from DH Choi, or I think it's the Choi on Instagram. If you're newer to the Creature Commandos world, what backstory do we need to know to enjoy it?
I don't really think you need to know. You definitely don't need to know any Creature Commandos backstory. I think you don't need to know anything to enjoy the show. We explain everything.
Yeah.
I think if you know one thing, it's good. You can know that in Creature Commandos, uh, spoiler, I guess, from Suicide Squad from 6 years ago or 5 years
Yeah.
ago, that Rick Flag's son died, which is now loose cannon in the DCU. And so we hear him talking about his son who died, and we know that, and in Peacemaker season 1, Amanda Waller is outed by her daughter as, again, spoiler, as the head of Task Force X. So Congress at the beginning of the season has put an end to all Task Force X activities. And, she thinks that she can get around this by using people who aren't, considered human beings.
Yeah. And to your point, the first 10 minutes of the premiere kind of gives all that backstory to everyone.
Yeah.
So it's great. You can just enter in and start right here,
I
although
mean,
I
I'm
wouldn't
proof that
recommend
you
it.
can do that. Yeah, because I knew
Although,
nothing about Creature Commandos whatsoever. So I came in real blind and still enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy.
so the next one we have is from the Daily Crypto on X. James, I had to say it that way because there are a lot of exclamation points.
Oh, I know.
Um,
Hey, I know this guy. Daily Kryptonian. He's great. He's a great
you-
guy and a big supporter online. I like him a lot.
Amazing. He said, how has this process been for you? Are you having fun? I love all these exclamation points. This is the most important question to ask. And we want to know, oh, so he's just asking, are you having fun during this creative process? And I agree, this is an important question.
What's important to me is telling stories. I'm very fulfilled by that. It's a rich life. It isn't always the most fun. However, I will say, out of all the things I've done over the past couple of years, which is, 650 pages of material I've filmed over the past year, which is, Creature Commandos, Peacemaker season 2, and Superman. The thing that's been kind of the most easy for sure, but also in a lot of ways the most fun has been Creature Commandos because I've had to put the least amount of work into it. And I would keep getting, first the animatics, then the, color animation, and then this, and they would send me all, and it was so fun, the process working with these guys, working with the animators that, yeah, I definitely had fun working on this show quite a bit.
Yeah, at least from the outside looking in, it seems like you're a big fan of the work.
Yeah.
And I think that's what at least the fans I interact with love about what you're doing and the projects coming out, is that you seem interested and like you're having fun.
I love what I do, and I often the other day I was sitting standing actually in the hotel room with my wife Jen, and we were talking, and all of a sudden because I was talking about how I wanted to, setting up some shots in the scene we were about to shoot in Savannah, Georgia, in Peacemaker, and as I was explaining the shots to her, I realized how much I loved doing that. The logic of building a scene and putting shots together in such a way that was exciting and emotional. And I started to get teary-eyed because I was like, I love making movies. I really do. And I don't appreciate that very much. And I enjoy it now way more than I ever have before. I will tell you that, and people know that I've said this. I hated making movies for my first 10, 15 years. Like I hated it. I liked planning, so I liked pre-production, and I liked post-production editing, which is probably one of the reasons why I like Creature Commandos, because in a way it's really almost all post-production.
Yeah.
I love post-production, but I didn't like shooting. And as time has gone on, I've learned to love that process as well. But it's been something that's been gradual since shooting the Suicide Squad. Things have become more and more fun. So Suicide Squad, Guardians 3, and Superman have been really fun.
Yeah. Have you learned to love it, or have you kind of adjusted your process so that it has become something that you've really enjoyed to do? Like,
It's both. It's both. I have to stop and take stock and realize how fortunate I am and lucky I am to be experiencing this life and the ability to imagine anything and create it, in reality. That's an amazing thing. So part of it is that's my internal life. The other part is just I'm more comfortable with it. I'm not as worried. If I put the work in, things seem to go well, and we seem to put out good stories that people like and critics like, and so it's I think it's just being more comfortable in what my profession is and not as needy. I also think very early on in the filmmaking process, everything was so magical to me. I mean, I'm a kid from Manchester, Missouri, stepping, set on a film, for the first time was overwhelming and cool. But everything was so magical that it got in the way of actually doing my job and doing it well and not being all uptight and freaked out about it. And today it really is a job. I mean, it's a job. It's a great job, but it's a job. And I go to work every day and I shoot, and it's fun. I shot 150 something days this year that we had on set shooting stuff. And so it's more normal to me. It used to be, even in the early days, I shot first movie in 1995. Then it was a couple years before the next one. Then it was, a couple years before the next one. So they were these events, and now it's sort of constant. It's always happening. So it's not as overwhelming in that respect.
All right, well, we have one more question from the fans from the DC community on Discord. The Aussie Spartan asks, which episode is your favorite and why?
My two favorites are 4 and 7.
Mm.
4 is the one that I was the most personally involved in terms of just really, micromanaging everything. So I really love 4, which is the story of Weasel, and I love 7, which is the season finale. But I think, working with also the other people are Clint Mansell and Kevin Kiner, who do the score. They did the score for Peacemaker. Now they're doing the score for Creature Commandos, and it's an incredible an incredible score for an animated for any show. It would be incredible, and for an animated show, it's especially incredible. And the work they did on episode 4 is just beautiful, as did the whole team, the director and Dean and Rick and all of them, and Bobby Pills. I'm really grateful to everybody for all the work they put into episode 4. It's something very special.
Yeah, James, we can talk to you all day, promise. But we can't. So we just have one final question and then we'll let you go on your way. Creature Commandos is ending in January, and then you're only going to be a couple months from the premiere of Superman. Are you excited?
Oh my gosh. I can't tell you how excited I am. I'm so excited. I'm
So
so
he was like,
excited.
no, I'm not excited at all.
Yeah, yeah, he was like, it's just another day. Like,
Listen, you would have gotten me a couple months ago and you would have said, am I excited? I said, no, I'm just nervous because I'm putting the thing together. I don't know if it works or not. I don't know how I feel about it yet. Those first couple cuts are so hard, and now I'm starting to get to the place where the visual effects are coming in. We're honing in the edit so it's something really beautiful. I'm seeing the full strength of the performances of all these, just these wonderful actors. David is beautiful, Rachel, Nick, Eddie Gathegi. There's all these just great performances in the show. And I think it's the best, it's not an ensemble story. It is the story of Superman. And at the middle of everything is these three characters. It's Clark, Lois, and Lex, and that's everything. But in terms of the overall cast, man, there's not a weak one in the bunch there. Beck Bennett, I was watching a scene with him last night. He's so good. So I just can't wait to share that with everybody. I really can't.
yeah, you definitely cooked. I mean, with the casting, everyone's excited. So
Yeah, they're so good.
we can't wait either. But thank you all for watching. The first two episodes of Creature Commandos is out right now. Run and watch it. It's streaming right now on Max only. And if you want to hear more of our thoughts, Tyler and I, you can check us out on our show.
That's right. The DC Studios Showcase will be airing. Our first episode airs tomorrow on Max
Yes.
or on wherever you get your podcasts. You don't want to watch us, although I encourage you to. And then every other Friday we'll release a new episode, and I'm so excited to launch this show with you, Frankie. It's been so much fun already.
I can't
I think
wait.
it's just the show is so great, you guys. It's so fun, and being able to see you guys, just talk intelligently but in a fun way about what's going on with DC, taking things apart, putting them back together. It's I only got to see the first episode so far, but I can't wait to tune in every week and have people see what's going on with you guys too.
That's
Thank you.
amazing.
That's the endorsement I need.
Right? I was like, I can't, no one
It
can
doesn't
ever say
matter. Who
anything.
cares? Everybody
James
else.
Gunn said he liked it. Also, if you don't live in America and you don't have access to Max, you could check us out on YouTube and see our pretty faces. And hopefully, eventually, James Gunn's face on our show as well.
Yes, for sure.
Well,
Thanks,
thank
guys.
you. Thank
Thank
you
you
so
so much,
much.
James, and congratulations on all this. It's so
Thanks,
fun.
guys. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.